Hi, everybody. Baruch Hashem, we're starting the second part on Parshas Pinchas. This is what the Rebbe said. And this is from the talks of Shabbos, Parshas Pinchas, the blessing, the blessing, the new month of Menachem Av, the 24th of Tammuz, 5751, and it was translated from Yiddish. So we're talking about as we mentioned before, so we're talking about we mentioned by the first one, we're talking about the concept of that when you do something, you have to be totally involved in it. That even something that's a preparation for a mitzvah, that once it becomes a holy holy thing, you have to do it in a complete way. And that's what we're talking about. Why the land, when the goro from the land, it says that we talked about why did Hashem make it that the goro, that the lottery had to speak from itself. He made certain miracles. Because he said when you're doing something, it has to be done in a complete way. Even though it says we talk about the lottery was just a preparation for dividing the land. The first thing we were talking about, why was it that the Tamuz Tzedek, I think Tamuz told a person who wanted with Israel, should make hear Israel, and then we see the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe, he talked about this and spread it out. So there's a special thing of doing, even though it's a preparation to go to Eretz Yisrael, we're preparing ourselves, we have to do it in a complete way. So we talked about that. And then what else did we go into? We talked about then we conquer a land that you have to, there's two parts in conquering it. One, you have to conquer all of it. And the other one, besides conquering the land, conquering the land is that when everything that the land, it's yours. In other words, it affects everything in the land. So the same thing is like in the spiritual level, when we're conquering and making the world a dwelling place for Hashem. So it says that everything in the world will see that that's Hashem's house. We talk about everything is done with thought, speech, and action. So it says, when you really do something in a real way, it's talking, let's go over parts. Okay, we're over here by 6. Okay. So we have to make a dwelling place for Hashem, and we do this by everything we do. Our whole being is and our thoughts and actions are involved in doing what Hashem wants us to do. So it says, now we're on number 6. So Dvar as the dear Lodi's Bar with Taktonim but abgemacht durch dem Avodas from Yidden. Ist verstandig, als auch bei dem Jeden, Hakovish es Armitz, darf sein die Schleimers Avodah v'chol Pratio, kol Zavuchim Shalom. Makshaber deeper mindset. So the Rebbe says that since we see that making a dwelling place for Hashem below, in the lower realms, is made through the service of the Jewish people, is understood that also the Jewish people, when we are the one who conquering the land, must do a complete service to every aspect of our powers, garments, with thought, speech, and action, in addition to the fact that he makes himself an abode for Hashem. Now that I become a holy place, Hashem dwells in me, each and every one of us. We're doing Torah mitzvahs, and we're fulfilling Hashem's will. We're becoming a holy place, a holy temple for Hashem. It's really, just some of these things you sit and think back, that here, but right now I'm a holy place. I'm a Beis HaMikdash for God. Right now, we're all listening to this, and the Rebbe said this is the most important things to do to bring the Gula. They bring the complete Gula, and we're all learning this. So we're all now in a real way like a dwelling place for God. We're all a Beis HaMikdash. So it says. So we see, so let's go over that. So it says that a person must do a complete service with every aspect of his powers and his garments with thought, speech, and action, in addition to the fact that he makes himself an abode for Hashem, a dwelling place that Hashem dwells, I'm his Beis HaMikdash, by serving him through his thought, speech, and action. his service in the world in fulfilling the mitzvahs, and similarly in doing the permitted things for the sake of Hashem, needs to be with his entire self, thought, speech, and action. You have to totally be involved in it. Given over everything you're doing is just for Hashem. And we can do it. This is an amazing thing. You can do it. It's all for us to do now. It used to be something that wasn't able to do, but the Rebbe said we can all do this. We're at such a special level. We have to realize it and do it more and more. As is known that the completeness of the fulfilling of mitzvahs is by fulfilling them with thought, speech, and action, both regarding the mitzvahs in general, for there are mitzvahs which are in the realm of thought, those that are in the realm of speech, and those that are in the realm of action. And in general, the Torah, which is namely with speech and service, with prayer is davening, which is mainly with the thought, with the heart, you're thinking about Hashem. And then the actions of kindness, mitzvahs, are mainly done with action, putting on tefillin, helping another person. You're doing actions, and also regarding each mitzvah itself, as a Jew needs to fulfill it with thought, speech, and action, and the intention of the mitzvah thought, and that's the intention. I'm doing this. I'm doing a mitzvah Hashem, the blessing for the mitzvah speech, and the action for the action of the mitzvah, and the action of the mitzvah is known as action. Now let's look down on we're right now. We're on chapter 6, on Parshas Balak. As I said in the other classes and stuff, we can find the English transcript, and you can download it for free. If you have to go to the website Living Moshiach, Living Moshiach, MOSHIACH.com. And you go over there, and where it says library, you open up the library tab, and then you'll see one of the books that's available to download is the second part of Bamidbar, which is what this is it. And you can read it. I mean, I really recommend you can listen it over, to follow it inside, but they say you really have to understand this stuff. There's a big mamish part of you. That's what we're talking about now, the last couple of weeks, because by making this part of you, the Torah of the Rebbe, it's like the new Torah. It enlightens your soul, and you'll be able to live more a redemption atmosphere and bring the redemption better, faster. Because, in other words, generally what it explains that what you, according to how you do something, is how you draw something from above. So it says if we live Mashiach, so we draw this level of Mashiach from above. So this is what the Rebbe is talking about. So let's look at now. We were talking about over here about different types, thought, speech, and action, and that you have to have a mitzvah, and the different mitzvahs are special things. And then when you do a mitzvah, there's the thought, which is the intention. Then there's saying the prayer, and then there's the actual of doing the mitzvah itself. So now footnote 38, he goes to explain a little bit in this. He says also regarding the mitzvahs of learning Torah, the Shema recitation, when we're saying Shema, the prayer, and the like, although they do not have an actual material action, we're not doing something in the physically with it. Nevertheless, indeed, the law is that though it is not the same as speech, nevertheless, indeed, the law is that thought is not the same as speech. This says in Brachos 20b, and that one does not fulfill his obligation until he utters it with his lips. And the law is that the moving of his lips is considered an action, for it is not possible for the godly soul to express itself with material lips, mouth, tongue, and teeth, only to the animalistic enlivening soul which is clothed in the limbs of the body, literally. So the Rebbe is saying over here that even when you're learning Torah and you're praying to God, you have to do it physically, because you have to bring it down into the physical world. I sometimes see people davening and they don't moving their lips or anything, so I tell them about this. So I've done it a few times in 770, and the people just didn't know, and they were so happy. Anyways, the thing is, we have to do everything in a complete way. For although, according to the halacha, there are differences between mitzvahs mainly involved with action, speech, or thought, and the two of them or three of them, nevertheless, the fulfilling of the mitzvahs in a completeness, and especially in fulfilling the mission of man down here, so one is doing in a complete way, and especially doing why God sent us here, not only regarding the reward and the punishment and the service in its bare minimum. One thing is, you can say, okay, I was a good guy, I did this, I did that, so God is going to punish me. He's going to either punish me or he's going to reward me in the world to come because I did good stuff, and I get paid. It's like a lot of people talk about, I get brownie points in the world to come. This is not only that, you don't have to worry about that. Especially when one person does the mitzvah in true completeness, with his whole essence and existence, as it is regarding the mitzvah of loving Hashem in Shema recitation, which is all-embracing content of the service in general, that you just go like, I love Hashem, but Hashem, just so, as we said, so much, so special thought, He's so special to us. That means give ourselves over, and includes all the mitzvahs. Therefore, there's no service like the service of love, which needs to be with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And from this we learn, and from this extends to all matters of service, which indeed to be complete, using all its strength with thought, speech, and action. So therefore he's talking about when mamash, you have to give ourselves over, totally over to Hashem. And that's what the idea of giving over in Shema is. Okay, let's go further. Regarding a tzaddik and a beinoni, who can differentiate between mitzvahs of thought, speech, or action, and how much the more so regarding simple people who don't differentiate that much, and naturally they fulfill each mitzvah simply with their thought, speech, and action. Okay, so now everybody has to do this. Even somebody can see differences in understanding it. He has to use all of it. And the fact is that a Jew does his service completely in all details. With his thought, speech, and action, he transcribes the entire world. Wow, that's what we're doing. We're turning the whole world around, which is also divided into three levels: thought, speech, and action. To an abode, to a place for him, Hashem, blessed be He. And simply in most things, it is evident in their accomplishment in the world, the effect of thought, speech, and action. And simply, in most things, it is evident in their accomplishment in the world, the effect of thought, speech, and action of one accomplishes it. Hence, when a person who accomplishes something in the world does it with all of his garments, his thought, speech, and action, it is evident in the matter that he has accomplished in the world. You know that he did this. Has his stamp on it. Okay, now we're in number 7. Based on this, the phenomenon that the lot would speak will be understood, just as the actual service of conquering and settling the land needs to be with the height of perfection, with thought, speech, and action. Similarly, is also regarding all the details of the service, and also the matters that are only preparation and an introduction to the service of conquering the land and settling the land. Although they have no purpose on their own, or that they only have a detail of the service, they need also be done in the most complete way with thought, speech, and action. And as is known, the saying of the Rebbe Rashad Nishmas Eden, which was published by his only son, the successor, my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe, the leader of generation, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, that a panimi puts himself completely into everything he does. Once at a Hasidic gathering, the Rebbe Nishmas Eden, the Rebbe Rashab, noticed that the students were singing with the song quickly. We always sing before Maimer, different things. We sing a niggin, and they were singing this niggin, this song, this Hasidic song very quickly. and it's an introduction to what was following the saying of a Hasidic discourse, a mimer, or the like. And he devoted, so what happened? He was not too happy with this. Evidently, he wasn't happy that they were rushing. So what did he devote? He said he devoted the entire cycle, the entire talk for this topic. That the context of which is that when a Jew that in a Jew's service, he needs to do everything completely, even regarding a matter that is an introduction to another matter. So when we are still in this stage, before the final stage, we need to be completely immersed in it. Indeed, it is very important that where one is, one needs to be truly there. But wherever one is, he needs to be there. Got to be where you are, totally in the time into it. And as long as I'm occupied with this, I need to be there. And afterwards, when we'll move to the second matter, which the introduction was for, and do this matter with completeness. So in other words, wherever you are, you got to put your whole being into it. In any place, we're talking about service of Hashem. So all of these places were service of God. One was a preparation to do a service of God. The other ones were actually doing the mitzvahs. But everywhere you are, whatever step you are, you got to be totally there. And we may say the Rebbe is mechadish, that the source of this is in the revealed dimension of the Torah, in the renigla of the Torah. Where's the source? It is known that all matters of the inner dimensions, the Pneumius, the Chasidus of the Torah, are reflected in the revealed parts, in the renigla of the Torah, as is explained above chapter 4, with the Ragachover regarding the matters of holiness. Also, the introduction has an importance for itself. That this itself is very important. Okay. So now we explained about going into that when you're doing something, even though it's not the final mitzvah, it's only preparation, you got to do it in a complete way. And when you do it, if you put your whole being in how you think and how you talk and what you do and everything you put inside it, it is recognized from you that you are there and this is yours. This is the same thing is like building this. We're talking about making the base a dwelling place for Hashem below. So it's recognized that you're involved in doing this. And of course, so now we're in number 8. And according to this, we may say the reason for the miracle that the lot would cry out. Remember, we asked, why was the lot crying out? Because I had other miracles. We didn't need it. Just as actual service of the conquering of the land needs to be done in a complete manner, with thought, speech, and action. So too is true regarding the preparation and the introduction for this thought through the division of the land by means of the lot. Lottery, the goro. For although the lot, the goro, is a preface and means by which to divide, conquer, and settle the land, it was just telling us what we're supposed to do in the future. It itself wasn't doing it. Nevertheless, it has an importance for itself, as mentioned above in chapter 2, and therefore also the lot was in the most complete way. The lot itself made the entire division. The lot itself made the entire division, and also confirming the truth and the publicity of it, the lot would cry out. So the lot itself did everything. It cried out, it talked. Everybody knew just from the lot itself, the lottery itself, that what was happening. So what are we saying here? So we're talking about even the preparation to mitzvah, and the completeness is expressed in the fact that in the lot there are three, all three, thought, speech, and action. There were all three in it. So they're never talking about, we had everything in its thought, speech, and action. That in addition to the action of casting the lot, when we put the lot in and casted it, right, we put everything in the cup and all the things that we put. And then there was the writing of the 12 notes of the names of the tribes. And then there was the writing of the names of the borders of the lands, and the thought and the intention that this is needed in addition to it being recorded according to Ruach HaKodesh, the realm of thought. So in other words, we added that the actual was writing it out. And then we had the thought and the intention that was needed in addition, that we see that they had Ruach HaKodesh, which is like God said, this piece of land owed to this tribe. Moreover, the lot would speak also, not only thought, it would speak out, that the division of the land according to the lot was accompanied truly complete through the lot itself. Only by way of the lot, it says, without anything else. That since in addition to the actual lot, its actions and thoughts, which showed that it needed to be divided, that the lot itself would cry out and say, in a clear, revealed manner, he'd say clearly, so that there was no doubt left in it, that the lot was drawn, and such aborted with such and such a tribe. He would say it. He said, this is what's happening. So we may say that the reason for the fact that the completeness was expressed specifically for the miracle of the lot would speak, because there are other things there that or that also did things. So why is it a special thing that the lot itself spoke out by the mouth of the lot, and not in the thought or action? Since in order that there be a lot, there must be action and thought. The action of drawing the lot in correlation with the thought and the intention to do it. So you have to think you want to do it, you have to actually do it. But the turning fact is that shows that the most possible completeness is that matter of speech, which reveals the results of the lot in the complete clearness and revelation, and this shows that the lot itself is in the most complete completeness possible in thought, speech, and action. So Dafka, the Rebbe is saying here that through saying the, let's go over this again, and we may say that the reason for the fact that the completeness was expressed especially in the miracle that the lot would speak, that by the mouth of the lot, and not in the thought and action, that since in order that there be a lot, there must be an action and a thought. The action of drawing the lot in correlation with the thought and intention to do it. So you have to have two things. You have the intention that you're going to do it and have to actually do it. But the turning fact that shows the most possible completeness, so this is something you have to do. You have to have, if you're going to have a lottery, you have to make the lottery, you have to put everything together, and then you have to have intention when you're drawing the lottery, you have intention to make a lottery. So what's the highest level? It says, what's the most possible completeness is that the manner of speech, which reveals the results of the lot in complete clearness and revelation, and this shows that it speaks it out, and this shows that the lot itself is in the most complete possibility in thought, speech, and action, as it is in the service of man, that speech is the main thing that shows how much a person who serves the conqueror is permeated with the matter, and also the quality of his effect on others he conquered. Hold on, let's say this last part. Was das is the was Adam, as the Dvar is their Iker even the Boichin. This is it. Okay, so B das is that this is in service of man, that the speech is the main thing which really points out B das names Adam how this goes and it completely takes a hold of him, the person who's conquered. I'm just following what my master wants. Und auch wie es ist poiled in dem Zulas and Nichbash. And also how it affects on the others that conquered. In other words, I think that means that, when you're really into it, that your whole being in there, and talk about it, and I talk about Dvar Malchus all the time. I talk about it. I'm very excited about it. I drive pretty crazy about it because I'm into it. That's it. When you're really into something, you talk about it. So talking is also sharing. He said, and you affect others. Regarding the reason for this, that one, we're at number 9, that why Abai Padnimi puts himself totally in every service he does, even in the service that is an introduction to another thing. He's totally there. The Rebbe Nishra saying, the Rebbe Rashab explains 2 reasons in the above talk. 1, this indicates the truth and not being superficial, that wherever one is, it is with truth and not non-superficial. Das ist Beweis, aber Emes und Pnimi. Also wo ist men an Emes und Pnimi. So it says over here, I was going over here, I like the language better, that it shows, that what's it mean? 2 things, that it shows that he himself, he does it with real truth and real sincerity, inner sincerity, and that wherever he is, he's doing it with the truth and emes. Base, what's base? And only through this he does the preparation for the next stage in a complete way. That meant that there no name out them etzem b'shleimus. It says over there he takes the essence of b'shleimus. What's this mean here? The amazing stuff. It says specifically by doing the introduction completely, and afterwards the following through also with it truly complete. So therefore, when he does this in a complete way, the next step when he's doing the mitzvah itself will also complete. Since this is the true introduction, as the Torah declares naturally, the more he will be involved himself in the introduction without haste, the more he will be able to add in delving and in broadening his understanding of the actual matter afterwards. In other words, when you prepare yourself, and we're totally like this situation when they would be totally involved in a niggin, and they weren't thinking that the next step, that this is a preparation for the great Torah, the great Hasidic Torah that the Rebbe Nishra Seder was going to say, and they said we're in a rush because we're so excited to hear this Torah. He says no. He says the niggin itself, you have to be totally involved in the niggin. I mean, it's an amazing thing. If you ever, like the Rebbe I was years ago, when the Rebbe would say, because of his discourse, that they would say this niggin and the whole world was fine. So anyway, so he's saying that this is another thing Rebbe says should be totally involved in it in every way. And when you're totally involved in it and you talk about it, and that's how you live, that means it's real. And then you affect other people. And we may say, all of these things are great Kedushim, a great new concept. We may say that says Hashem sets the nature of the world, that before one reaches the actual matter, one first goes through the initial step of preparation and introduction, or several preparations, so that the man and the world can get used to it. In the words of Casillas, becomes a vessel for the light of the emanator. In other words, that by similarly, like when you learn Dvar Malchus, the Rebbe repeats many inyonim, many ideas back many times, and then you start learning it, you get used to it. He says generally that Hashem had to make the world so they got used to it, they become vessels for it. Therefore, also the preparation, because these are all preparations, they must become, and the introduction itself is significant for the internalization of the follow through, and therefore it receives importance for itself, similarly to the importance of the actual matter, the goal, and it indeed and it needs to be done with the most possible completeness, although it is before one reaches the actual matter. So the Rebbe is saying here that when you're doing something, that if you're doing it in a complete way, you become a proper vessel. You become ready to do the proper vessel, and ready to do much more, and you become this in a complete way. And it is regarding the general concept of education, and it is regarding the general concept of education that since it is necessary preparation for fulfillment of mitzvahs, therefore they receive importance and is a significant matter unto itself. In other words, teaching children how to do Hashem's will, that itself is a preparation, but it becomes something special by itself. And on the contrary, to a certain degree, it is higher than the category of the mitzvahs, as was once spoken. It says it can be even a higher level. Let's go add. And one needs to give a complete dedication to it with all efforts and powers. And the more in depth, so we want to learn this in a more deeper way. Since the goal of making the world into an abode, a place for Hashem in the lower realms, is one purpose from one Hashem. This is our goal. This is one concept. This is one kavanah from Hashem, one Hashem. So the Rebbe says that everything comes from Hashem. Now this is in addition, we know that the Rebbe says the fact that every single entity in the world has its significance is created by the power of the essence of Hashem, that He alone has the power and the ability to create something from nothing. So to fulfill what Hashem wants us to do, that Hashem wants that everything comes from Hashem, Hashem wants us to reveal His essence in this world, it says that the fulfillment of this purpose and its completeness is accomplished with all the details of the lower realms, also including matters that are only a preparation and introduction to another matter. Indeed, from the perspective of this purpose of the essence of Hashem, every single entity in the world, and also the unimportant things and preparation, etc., has in it the infinite power and the power of the essence of Hashem. And this makes the thing itself a true matter, because it's come from Hashem, part of Hashem, and with the point and purpose, and therefore the service involved in doing it needs to be with completeness in thought, speech, and action, and specifically through its purpose is fulfilled, namely the preparation which leads to the actual matter. I'm going to go over this in Yiddish and say it out again because it's very important. So we're talking about that we have to do everything in a complete way. We're talking about by chinuch, that it's a preparation, but it's a very special thing. And it's a very, very, very special thing, the idea of chinuch. And then he talks about it in more depth. How do we understand it more deeper? That from a dir, that the kavanah from dir v'taktoni is a kavanah achas from Hashem echad. The intent to make a dwelling place for Hashem below is one intent from one God. No seluzah yeder zag ba'olam der barshafen from bekoch atzmos. He says, in addition to this, we see that everything's made from the power of Hashem. That Hashem Himself was only the power to create something of Himself. Something from that. There's a very special thing. Rebbe's talking about what's it mean, something from nothing. That all the other worlds, the higher worlds, they're not a creation, not like something that you can see what their source is. They're not so distant. But the fact that Hashem can make something created that it appears to be in any form, its own existence, only Hashem could do, because you have to be in existence to be able to make something that would appear to exist. So only Hashem, which is the true existence, could do this. So how do you do this in a complete way? How do you bring down the Eibusher and reveal his essence in the whole world? This includes in everything, even the things that are achana, the preparation to a second thing, is matzad the kabbana ba'asmuso yisbrach, because when we talk about the kabbana, it's in the essence of God, is that in yeder zak olam, that the essence of God, everything in the world is created from God's essence, right? So everything of God, even the lower details, everything is created by Hashem. is Hashem's creation. Therefore, the koich ha'ein sof, the power of the infinite one, their koich ha'asos, the power of the essence of Hashem, is in their zach. It's in the thing because God created it. But machen the zach aligned for an inyan amiti. So since this everything is part of Hashem Himself, and Hashem created it, and it's mitzvah because Hashem is a mitzvah. So therefore, it makes this thing alone that it's a true thing. Mit atakis, a kavanah has a certain reason and a certain thought. Und der River dav in dem sein die avodah v'shleimus. So since everything has a special thing, specially put there by Hashem, and Hashem is bringing in the power every second, so therefore he has to do it in a complete way. But makshaber dibra maisa, und dafka durch dem wird zij durch talk. Is dafka through this that you do in a complete way. You go according to what your goal is, what you have to do. That it's a preparation that he's able to, after that, when he's doing everything in a complete way, he's able to get to the essence of the matter. So the Rebbe says in more detail, similarly we see that regarding the thought, speech, and action themselves, thought and speech are preparation and introduction to action, since the main thing is action. Action, maisa hua'ikar. However, through them bringing about action, and the action is based on thought and speech, so that they bring this action, which is thought and speech, they are also receive importance for themselves, because they are the one causing the action. As is said in regarding to the general Seder Stashalos, that how the world, to change the sense of the world, that through the service of making an abode, a dwelling place for Hashem in the lower realms of this world, similarly to the aspect of action in comparison thought and speech, which is accomplished through the power and is founded on the revelations of the upper worlds. So everything is because Hashem gave us the power and teaches us how to do it, wakes us up. Also the upper worlds attain an ascent and receive the revelation of the infinite power, although on their own day the upper worlds are a descent from the light of Hashem's face, blessed be He. So he's saying over here, we'll go over this again in Hebrew. It's good to go over this a second time. So he's saying over here, it's a more deep, Yiddish. This is a Zaya, this also has to do more detail with thought, speech, and action. Thought and speech it's a preparation for action. But that says mice is the main thing. What you're doing a good deeds, what coming out to do something act, that's the main thing. But through this, that these thoughts and speech bring to action, is the Maisa is Mesaid after Makshavah Diva. But auch in their aufgegeben, since they themselves, the thought and speech and action, are the foundation for the thought and speech, are a foundation for the action, so therefore that the action itself is important. So therefore they become important because they're an important part of everything. We see this as how in general how the world is created for the change of sense. As their avodah is marking a dear victorium, that only through our service are we able to make a dwelling place below. It's similar, like it says, it's in reference to thought and speech, is actually doing something. So in order to do this comes from the power of the higher revelations. But Avgetan and Aliyah und Agila and Gila Koyecha Ein Sof, that becomes by doing this, and then you finally make a dwelling place for Hashem below, you then make a new revelation of godliness, even in the higher worlds. Even though it says that when the light, when that Avalpi was Mitzad Asman Zayin Zeh, you read them upon up that they're in a very high level, very high place, and they're a mamish, like mamish one with Hashem. So it says over there that the level that when they come down into this world, it seems that they're going to a lower level. Nevertheless, even though there's not so much revelation here, the essence of God is revealed, which is a higher revelation, and it picks everything up to a higher level. So we got up to number 10, Baruch Hashem. So we're going to finish here. I think to tell a story. It's kind of a long story, but I was the Rebbe sent me to Shechem. I was in a very difficult situation, and very, very, very difficult situation, and I didn't know where to go and didn't know what to do, and I had a kid I had to put in school. I didn't wear it. I don't want to go into detail, and I was in New York, and I worked out something with where we were living with the rabbi that he gave a good recommendation, but they wanted us out from the community for whatever reason, and so they when I went to the other school in New York to try, the secretary called the rabbi secretary, and there was such a slander about us and about our kid that they wouldn't let us in. So here I was. I really didn't know what to do. I had no clue what to do. Here I am. I had a 3 and a 4-year-old, a 4 and 5-year-old, and a 12-year-old. I didn't know where it was going to be. I'm renting a place by the Rebbe in Crown Heights, and on a daily basis, and my wife and then 3 kids. And so I went and I wrote to the Rebbe. I wrote the thing that. So after I found out about this, I put in a letter to the Rebbe of all the problems and everything that's happened and all the different things, and I did a lot of good there, and it was very, very, very sickening letter. I mean, very terrible. And I remember I went to Rabbi Groner, who was one of the major secretaries of the Rebbe for many years. So I asked him what to do. He says, "Do you have a mashpia?" So in Chabad, everybody recommends everybody has a mashpia, someone they go to for advice. I said, "No." I said, "Will you be my mashpia?" He said, "Okay." So he looks at the letter and he says, "This has to go to the Rebbe." So that was Wednesday. So Thursday, the Rebbe said after he got sick that what brings him life, singing and dancing for bringing. So I decided. So here I was, bad shape. So I know when you're bad shape, you do 2 things: you see the Rebbe, and you have a holy party for bringing. And so I took some mashka. I had a little bit of mozonos. And I went to 770 Thursday night, time for bringings. Nothing was happening there, so they told me to go to the place where the Israelis were for bringing. So I went there, and I talked. At that time I was close to Rav Ginsburg, and he would come. I wasn't contact. I learned with him years before, so he barely came to the States. So I was asking one of the guys if they knew him. They said, yeah, they knew him, and that was it. Then they ran out of mashka, so I went and I got mashka. Where we were staying was half a block away. On my way there, I put the mashka away, and they were very happy with me, and they told me where he's staying. Now, you have to remember, this is after I put this letter into the Rebbe. So a lot of these things you do come into your head. It's not like the Rebbe and Hashem puts these different things and leads you different ways. Okay. So then I went back, and the guys told me they knew where he was staying. I called up the next morning to talk to him. And I went to see him, which is the only time he ever picked up the phone. Every time he had a secretary, his wife or somebody. And I tell him all the things, that I would start a Chaver Kedusha, do Musoyim. He says, you're a tzaddik. And he tells me, and I didn't have no idea where this was. He says, well, why don't you come and live in Yitzhar and learn in Shechem? And Yitzhar is in the middle of the Shomron. It's surrounded by 120,000 angry Arabs. So I said, I didn't know all of where it was, but I was very happy. But he says, only with the Rebbe, agreement, Haskam, or Bracha. So I remember Motzi Shabbos, I wrote this in with me and my family, and if I should live there, and I should learn in the yeshiva in Shechem. And I wrote in and I gave it to Rabbi Klein. And then I didn't get an answer till Monday. And when I got it on Monday, I went down to 770, the main place where the shul, the main zal is. And I went there, and I see Rav Ginsburg is sitting there looking at a Gemara. Well, excuse me, I forget to say, I didn't get an answer Sunday. Monday, I went up to Rabbi Klein about 11 o'clock. I said, what happened? What is the Rebbe? He said, Cain. And the Rebbe said, go, do it. So I was so excited because I didn't know what it was going to be. Now I had a place the Rebbe told me what to do. So I walked downstairs. This is upstairs where the offices were. I walked downstairs where the main shul is. And I see Rav Ginsburg, he's learning a Gemara. And in the Gemara, it's reading these words, Cain taseh, Cain taseh, Cain taseh. And I told him, the Rebbe said I should go, and he gave a positive answer. And then I told him that 20 years before that I learned with him about Shechem. Shechem is a concept in Chassidut. So I learned with him about this in Shechem, and now I'm going to Shechem. And so Rev Ginsburg looked at me and said, Hashem, the Rebbe said he should all be in contact with his first group of students. And so we ended up, I went to Shechem, we lived there, but there were many other things that happened. There was another thing that happened that was very interesting, because, that it was such a amazing thing, not a normal thing. The Rebbe usually doesn't do this type of thing. I was the only guy he ever sent over there. That there were many other things in it, as we're talking about, that showed by Shkach Pratis, not only what the Rebbe said, but many other things. For instance, one thing is, I still do, but then I used to sing a niggun. I am bam 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 bam. Yefrach b'yam ta'adik. So I used to sing this niggun. I would daven by it. So I went to Shechem. This was the niggun. Ba'anina tati lecha Shechem achad alachecha. That was one thing. The other thing was very interesting is that my first aliyah I got there. First we went there to be accepted. And once we were accepted, we came again. And the Shabbos, so I learned two things with Rebbe Ginsburg 20 years before. One was Shechem, and then the other one is, it says, Elu Rashi Matos B'nai Yisrael. But Yidavar Moshe Rashi Matos B'nai Yisrael. The Parshas Matos, the Moshe spoke to the heads of the tribes. So it talks about the idea of when a woman makes an oath, the idea of oaths. And we learned that in detail in different places. So when he got to accept it there, it was actually Parshas Pinchas was the Shabbos, and after Parshas Pinchas was Parshas Matos. And so when I got there, there was a person who had twins. His name was Siegel. So Siegel is usually a Levi name. I'm a Levi. So I didn't tell anybody it was a Levi because they wanted him to get the Aliyah. So they came to me for Shlishi, and I told them I'm a Levi. So they wanted to give me maftir, but I'm not very good at reading the maftir, so I'm a little bit ashamed. So I said, no. So when did I get it? Mincha time. So Mincha time is the other thing that we learned. We learned that that's the second thing I learned with Rev Ginsburg. So these are all different things showing that for whatever reason, it had to be, and all these different signs had to be in a complete way, so that there should be no doubt that what the Rebbe is telling me, and that's true. And so anyway, Zagazun to everybody. It's Hashem. We have another class or two to finish this up. But remember, everything you do, you have to be totally involved in a real way. And that everything you have to do is serving Hashem. So, and the more you get involved, and the more you think about it, but you have to do it with joy. You have to do it in a way that you're connected to something special. That it's a special thing. Like there's a famous story about a guy struggling up the mountain. He has this big pack and he's fetching and going that, and feels like the heavy burden. And there's another guy that's the same thing. He's walking with joy. So they said, "What's the other one?" The other one says, "I have this big thing on my back. I have to do all these things. I have to work on all this stuff." The other one says, "I have all these diamonds, and they're beautiful, and thank God for giving me all these wonderful things." Sei gesund, everybody. Yechia Donenu, Maren Venu Melch B'Shivli Lamben.